To create a template based upon an existing project plan will save time and effort on working on similar projects in the future. So for example, I've got my Spiffy software training manual here, and if I'm going to be creating additional software training manuals but not on something Spiffy in the future, then if I already have the task typed in here once, why would I want to do that again on similar projects in the future? Instead, I could go ahead and save this as a template and then just make copies of it and go ahead and update it and say, okay, instead of Spiffy, this is going to be my Excel software training manual, my PowerPoint, and so on. In fact, before we save this as a template, we want to get this to be as generic as possible because there are some things in here that may only pertain to this project. But future projects, when it's similar to the software training manuals, we'll keep, like the summary tasks, their subtasks, and so on. So again, before I go ahead and save this as a project template, let me come over here and see if there's something that's proprietary only to this project that I don't want to save as a template. Like, is there a hyperlink that I can right click on and come down here and say, before I save this as a template, let's clear it. Are there notes here that I don't want? Double click, go to the Notes tab, and this could be like, let's say, only for the Spiffy software training manual. It has no use in future projects. And then go ahead and delete it, click and drag delete, click OK. And then let's see, we got a constraint here. In future projects, we may not have constraints, so let's go ahead and get rid of that. Double click, go to the Advanced tab, and click on the drop down arrow and say Start as soon as possible. Click OK. And then we get issues, but again, that's just with this project here that I'm currently working on that I'm trying to clean up. So it's something a bit more generic that I can save as a project template for future projects. Well, you can see the two dudes here, they're in red because, as you can see, my project is, well, you've got some tasks starting a bit earlier and not necessarily waiting until the predecessor is finished. So what I'm going to do is really go to town and clean this up and say, okay, here's the milestone. As soon as that starts, we can go to the next task, which it skips it and comes down here. So if I come up here and double click, go to the predecessors tab and say, you're going to start right after the milestone, start manual, finish to start relationship, click OK. And then this one that goes down to, let's see, this task here, when you click on the taskbar, it highlights the task over in the table so you can see what task you have selected in case if your eyes are like mine sometimes and go, ooh, well, is it this task up here that I selected down here? No, just click on it, the bar, and it will select the corresponding row in the table. Okay, so the predecessor for this one is going to be interview subject matter experts and not start manual, so double click. It's not going to be start manual. It's not going to be this one. Come up here, it's going to be interview subject matter experts. The default's finish to start, click OK. And then let's see, this task, when it finishes, this one's starting way ahead of schedule. And like I said, in most projects that I work on in the future, well, it may not be like this, so I basically am trying to clean this up. So it's one right after another. And well, this one right here is starting, 50% of the way through. If I look over here and I see that this one finishes on the 7th, how about if we start this one on the next day on the 8th? So that's on the 7th, come down here and we can start on the 8th and it pushes it out. And then this one, let's see, that one finishes on the 14th. If we start this one on the 15th, pushes it out, then this one finishes on the 16th. So its successor will start, let's say, on the 17th. And then this one starts, let's see, on the 13th. We'll have it go after its predecessor above the 20th. So if we can go to the 21st, there we go. You can see that all these that have the black progress bar gets bumped out one at a time until I get to a point where I change the one that has been completed, and the successors that haven't been marked complete will automatically fall in place. Because when you're dealing with actuals here and you update them, it just moves that task and it doesn't affect the other ones if its successor has been completed as well. But if, again, the successors have not been completed, then you see when I adjusted this one and pushed it out, everything else like a domino effect gets pushed out. And then I've got one more issue here. It's this dude right here, because Writer 1's assigned to both of these tasks, and this is what? Hover over it, start to start relationship, double click. We'll do finish to start, click OK, and that's how my projects, at least I'm hoping, will be in the future, where it's one right after the next, okay? So once I have this set up, all cleaned up, I can save it as a template. Come up here, click on the File tab, go down to Save As, come down here and click the Save As Type arrow, and go to, well, You've got an earlier version that you can save it as a template, or the most recent version is just simply called Project Template. Select it, takes you right to the templates folder. Let's go ahead and give it a name and call it My Project Template, KK, my initials, click Save. And then a cool little thing that pops up, it says you're about to save a file as a template. You can choose to remove the following data items from the template, which you're probably thinking before when I saved it, you're like, hey, wait a second, you got actuals in here. These have been completed. When you save it as a template, what's going to happen? That when you make a copy of it for a new software training manual, you're not going to have half of them completed, are you? Well, don't worry about it, because I was waiting until this point in time to show you that you can select those types of data that you want removed from the template before it gets saved, like values of all baselines, actual values, resource rates, fixed costs, and whether tasks have been published to the project server, which if you're working with a project server, that's an entirely different training video. In any case, if you want that to be removed, if it's been published before to a server, then go ahead and check it and click Save. And then once you save it, if there's any additional modifications you need to make to it, like, oh gosh, this resource that has been assigned is over allocated, and is it for this one? Okay, Writer 1, I bet it's Admin 2, because the one above it, let's see, it finishes on the 7th and starts on the 8th, and Writer 1 wouldn't be conflicting or having any overtime. So if we right click and go to the resource sheet, there we go, it's Admin Assistant 2. As you recall, that pop-up note says, hey, given enough notice, they can work mornings, and also when you double click, they're only available from October the 13th through November the 28th. So Admin Assistant 2, if I right click and go back to the Gantt chart, cannot be assigned to this task. In any case, if this is a template, you may want to consider actually removing the resources assigned to these tasks if you're going to be using different resources. So at the very least, when you save it as a template and you go ahead and create a copy of that template to create a new project, then you don't have to type in the tasks and, well, also add the resources. In any case, if you need to make any changes, then make your changes, like come up here, go to the resource, click Assign Resources. We want to remove Admin Assistant, and then click off of it and say, okay, for this one we won't have any assistants assisting. And you can see up in the title bar, it's still in the .mpt extension, the template. So any changes I make and I click Save will save and update the template. If you feel more comfortable by coming up here and clicking on the File tab, going down to Save As, and changing it again to Project Template, you can see your template there, double click on it. To overwrite it, click OK. Again, remove those things. If you added any, then click Save, and that's it. Now when you're finished, if we go ahead and close out and don't save this, and we're like, okay, time to create a new project. Let's see, it's going to be for a new software training manual. Oh my gosh, do I have to type in all those tasks? Just come up here, click on the File tab, go down to New, go to My Templates, and there's the template that you saved, which was called My Project Template, and then double click, opens it up. Hey, I don't have to type in summary task, subtask, assign resources to the task. For the project summary task, you just come up in here and you say, this is going to be my... You're ready to go ahead and save this. Come up here, click on the Save button, and notice that it doesn't dump you back into the template folder. It's going to save a copy of the template so you don't overwrite the template with the changes that you make, so you can work on this project without overwriting the original templates. So in the future you can make another copy of the template to work on a similar project and so on. So you can go to the desktop and call this the database, click Save, and then go ahead and assign new resources, change the resources, add resources, go to the resource sheet view, and everything that we learned about in the training videos in the past up until this point. Oh yeah, one last thing. If you want to delete your templates, then come up here, click on the File tab, and go down to, like you're going to save your project as a template, and click on the Save as Type drop-down arrow, and go down to Project Template to take you to that folder, and then right-click on the template and go ahead and delete it. And click Yes. If it doesn't delete it, it means that you probably are working on that template right now. In other words, you got to close out a project completely, and then open project back up, and, well, start with a blank project or some other project. Just don't have that template up so you can delete it.
Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel to get notified of the latest videos. And for great specials on my products, please see the description below this video.